Welcome to the Voices of War, a podcast with a simple vision to bring to life the true costs of war through the voices of those who've lived it. I'm your host Maz, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Today, I'm once again speaking with Hizbullah, an Afghan security analyst and journalist who remains in Kabul. We recorded our first discussion on 17th of August, only a day after the Taliban took control of Kabul, where we discussed how we got to where we are now. You can find the link to that discussion in the show notes. Today we'll be talking about the current situation and perhaps most importantly, what the future holds for the people of Afghanistan. Hizbullah, thank you for joining me once again.
Thank you for giving me one more opportunity to share the realities of Afghanistan with you. Thank you.
I know that even your own security situation is still remains questionable. So again, I thank you for talking to me once again. But maybe we can start by, if you can give us a quick understanding of what is happening on the ground at the moment. How do you feel? How safe is it? What is the general sentiment of the people in Kabul?
There were almost 15 lakh people who were working in the previous administration. Every member is suffering from very harsh troubles because they feel insecure, they are receiving threats, they are escaping from one place to other places, and they are feeling that they would be killed abruptly if the Taliban captured them.
So sorry, Hizbullah, can you just confirm who you mean? I missed the start, and I'm not sure if I understood. Who are you referring to?
Every member, the 15 lakh people who work in the previous administration with the Ghani's administration, every that member who worked with the previous administration now suffering from very harsh tragedies. They are insecure. They have intention to flee Afghanistan as soon as possible. But in the same situation, they are changing their places in order to protect their lives, and they are receiving threats. The Taliban is still going to their homes in order to find them and take revenge from them, particularly the human rights activists, journalists who work with the international media, and the members of the last administration that actively played their role against the Taliban, and particularly the Afghan army members were 3 lakh. They were fighting in the various parts of Afghanistan against the Taliban. And the Taliban knows these members, they knows their home, they knows their tribes, and they are in very bad situation. Everyone has left their home, and they are trying to flee Afghanistan as soon as possible because they feel that they would be killed by the Taliban after their capture. This is the situation. On the other side, if you see Kabul, if you see entire Afghanistan, the whole Afghanistan is closed. Education, universities, almost there are 50 universities. They are closed. The whole agriculture system is closed. The whole banks in Afghanistan are closed because there are so many people who have money in their accounts, but they are unable to take out their money from the banks. And there is a very a great inflammation in Kabul and other parts of the prices are hiking in Afghanistan, almost doubled. And a similar way, if you see Kabul was the most developed city of this region, the women were wearing jeans, and they were the get-up of the women were very stylish and modernized. Now you cannot see a single woman in the city of Kabul. If you see, they are wearing the burqas and other kind of clothes which the Taliban like.
So you're saying that's already happening now?
Yes, and it is not the figure of NGOs and institutions. It's my personal figure. I think more than 20 lakh Afghan women lose their jobs, and tens of thousands of Afghan female students studying in the various parts of Afghanistan in the universities, they can't go to their universities now. So this is the condition. And the second situation that is also very troubling, the international community and the countries are just providing visas to those Afghans that work as an interpreter for them and that work with their army and projects. And they have limited their humanity, their sympathies just to these people. On the other hand, the journalists, the army personnel, the women rights activists, and the people with the previous who played very significant role in the previous administration, particularly against the Taliban, they are receiving more threats than those who work with the foreign projects. They should provide visas to those as well. And these people are just counting the moments of their life, and they are just waiting for their murder. The international community should not limit their humanity to those people, and they should provide opportunities to journalists and human rights activists as well in order to secure their life. They need the help of the international community.
No, I hear you, Hizbullah. Can I just confirm that how I'm hearing what you're saying? So at this moment, it looks like Afghanistan is frozen in time. Everything has stopped. Universities have stopped. Banks are closed. People can't get their money. Inflation is rife with prices doubling. And you mentioned that a lot of the people that have worked for the former government are in hiding, or they're changing places from one to the other. Has there been any confirmed violence against them? Why I'm asking that is the Taliban leadership has promised amnesty and keeps saying that amnesty will be given and is being afforded. But we are hearing mixed reports. So just from your understanding on the ground, to what extent is that amnesty actually being afforded to the people on the ground?
The Taliban spokesman has recently said in his press conference in Kabul that they have given amnesty to all their opponents. But on the ground, the situation is very different. We just saw the video of the Badghis commando killed by the Taliban. He was the commando in Badghis fighting against the Taliban. We have been seeing that the journalists are receiving threats, and there is raids on their homes. Their families are in very bad situations, and there is no amnesty. Everyone is in the situation where they don't have any hope of life. They are just escaping and changing their places. And the Taliban, on one side, they are saying that they have given amnesty to their opponents, but on the other side, their members are finding and going to their opponent's home in order to find them and kill them.
So you know that people are getting killed?
Yes, you can see there are reports that the time has just published one report, and in it he said that almost 1,000 people in Kandahar and the adjacent areas of the Kandahar killed. In other parts, we have been seeing the videos that massacred by the terrorists. So yes, this is reality.
No, and that's what I mean. That's why I like speaking with you, because you are on the ground, and oftentimes the reporters from the West don't necessarily have the feel of the situation on the ground. So I think it's important to hear your voice as well about this, and particularly the violence is ongoing at the moment. You also mentioned that women and girls are now already covered up in Kabul, and I think that's something that we haven't really heard much about. At least I haven't in the Western media. Let's maybe focus on the actual Taliban and the likely formation of a government. What do you think is happening? To what extent has there been any talks about a government or any plans on forming a Taliban government?
Yes, the negotiation is underway in the Kabul between the Taliban and the ex-president of Afghanistan, Hamid Karzai, Abdullah, and Gulbuddin Hekmatyar. Their constant meetings are going on. Every day they are holding their meetings in the Kabul in order to form the government. But now the situation is so complex, particularly after the Taliban captured the Kabul, because they were continuously they told to Afghans that they would make an inclusive government in Afghanistan. But after seizing Kabul, now they have changed their stance and now saying that they seize the whole Afghanistan by force. Now it is their own right to reconstitute their own extreme regime. And Hamid Karzai and others like Gulbuddin Hekmatyar and Abdullah, they are negotiating with them and they are emphasizing them to form an inclusive government in which everyone consisting on the elders of every ethnicity, of the elders of every tribe and every province. But the Taliban's, I think the negotiations are failed until now because the Taliban want a complete monopoly over the power. On the other side, the negotiator want that the Taliban should fulfill their promise and make an inclusive government.
And to what extent do you think that that's actually likely to occur, or the mediation that's ongoing at the moment? What is your prediction as to which way it's going to go? The monopoly side of Taliban power, or the hope of some level of inclusive governance?
Yes, it is the dream of the Taliban that they have intention to reconstitute a government based on just the Taliban. And they also have one more intention to make another system and to implement another system. So it is the two intentions of the Taliban currently. But I think that kind of government cannot exist in the current Afghanistan, because if you see currently the Taliban don't have any expert in their line. A government and institutions needs experts like political scientists, sociologists, doctors, engineers, and psychologists, and the experts of every walks of life. And there is even no master degree holders in the lines of the Taliban. So they can't run a government, a system which they will implement in Afghanistan. So I think the government, the current system, if they sustain the current systems, that kind of government could exist, and that kind of government will prevent another tragedies in Afghanistan, because the Taliban's, the members of the Taliban are just 50 and 60,000. And the current administration has just 15 lakhs members that are working in the various departments like agriculture, like universities, like municipality, and other departments like hospitals. So if you don't have any doctors, how can you run uh, thousands of hospitals around Afghanistan? If you don't have a single professor in your land, so how can you run around 50 to 60 universities in Afghanistan? If you don't have a single engineer in your land, so how can you run and develop the infrastructure of the Afghanistan? And that if you deprive 15 lakh members from their jobs, from their duty, it will increase uh, uh, economic crisis. It will emerge economic crisis in Afghanistan, because what will they eat in Afghanistan, because they don't have any other source of economy, any other source of earning. So that kind of government will just create catastrophes. That kind of government will just boost another civil war.
So so I'm clear, so I guess the point you're making is that the issue is really that the Taliban is seeking a monopoly of power in Afghanistan at the moment, while those who are mediating, like Karzai and Abdullah are asking them to have an inclusive governance. But the issue you're highlighting is that the Taliban has no institutional knowledge or sufficiently qualified people amongst their ranks to actually run the country. So how likely do you think it is that the Taliban realizes this and therefore allows the inclusive governance to an extent, at least insofar as allowing the 2 million plus who have been working for the previous government to get back to their positions to actually run the country? They might have the monopoly or run a theocracy, but basically the people who then go about the day-to-day managing of a government are those who worked in the previous administration. How likely do you think that is?
The Taliban basically want a complete monopoly over the government, but now they are thinking as well, because previous time they had monopoly as well, but they just ran Afghanistan for 5 years, and there were lots of trouble, suffering, and lots of crises in their government. The Afghan economy were completely collapsed in the previous term, and more than millions of people left Afghanistan due to economic crisis. There were peace, but people were leaving Afghanistan due to economic crisis. And now the Taliban previous time, the Taliban failed to run the country. They didn't make a single institution. They didn't make any developments around Afghanistan. Even they didn't make a single university across Afghanistan in their previous 5 years regime. Now they know that they are unable, they don't have capacity to run the entire institutions and the entire country of Afghanistan. They need the skills, the capacities, the abilities of the previous administration's worker. And now they want, even the Taliban invited Ashraf Ghani and Amrullah Saleh as well to work under our government, because they need these people. But on the other side, they want a complete monopoly. They say that yes, you work with us in the educational institution and university, but the vice chancellor of university would be Talib. They told the people that work with us in the banks, in the economic department, and the secretary would be Talib. So no one will be ready under the vice chancellor if the Talib who didn't take schools in their entire career. How can that kind of Talib run a Kabul University, Herat University, where almost 50,000 people are studying currently? So the negotiator basically of negotiating with these people and mediating that yes, you have the right of 50% key post, but you should work in the area where you have the capacity. Now, the Taliban also understand if they ignore the previous administration's worker, they would start around 2 million people work with the previous administration. If they deprive these people from their jobs and duties naturally and abruptly, there will be economic crisis within Afghanistan. These people around Afghanistan will start protest and resistance against the Taliban. And the second, if the Taliban ignore an inclusive government, if they ignore Tajik, Uzbek, Hazaras from their political participation, if they don't even give them space, already there is a huge resistance across Afghanistan. 3 districts liberated from the Taliban in the Baghlan province yesterday, and around 60 Taliban killed by those resistors. And today, just 2 hours ago, around 300 the Taliban killed by Amrullah Saleh's and Ahmad Shah Massoud's militias. There is a huge resistance, and the Taliban also know this fact as well, that they can't run a system where they have complete monopoly, because there is also in the previous years, in their previous regime, there was a big resistance in northern areas. And now there is also where this resistance will increase to other areas as well. The whole northern areas, people will join this resistance if the Taliban want, if they make a system where the complete monopoly is under their hands. And the third fact is that the previous system failed because the Taliban, the regime was based just to the Taliban. They know they don't, even the Taliban, a government which is based on the Taliban, it isn't possible. In this kind of government cannot run with 4, 5, and 6.
Just on that resistance point that you made, I think that's an interesting one, because we are hearing reports of, Ahmad Massoud and the resistance fighters in the Panjshir Valley. To what extent do you think that this is a genuine resistance that actually has some potential of resisting Taliban influence in governance, or is this more to set up better negotiation positions? How credible do you think the resistance is?
It's a very valid resistance, because the people wanted resistance against the Taliban, even in the administration of Ashraf Ghani. But at that time, they were confident on the Afghan military. And they understood that Afghan military and forces are capable to protect the entire Afghanistan from the Taliban. But the entire scenario changed within 4 and 5 days. The Taliban reached to Kabul. and the people of Afghanistan didn't get any time to resist against the Taliban. So now the Afghans, when the Taliban reached to Kabul, now the people are thinking that even the Taliban's regime, the people saw just their viciousness, their cruelties, and they are saying now as well, you see, they just in the cities, in the provinces, in the areas, they have continued very harsh cruelties on the Afghans. So now, even after the second day, the women started resistance and protest against the Taliban in Kabul. And on the third day, around there were protests in the 5 provinces of Afghanistan. So no one is ready for a theoretic Taliban government. So now the Amrullah Saleh and Hamad Masood and the whole Afghans, they request from the Taliban that make an inclusive and democratic government, because it is there is a very big history behind this scenario. No government in Afghanistan has succeeded until now, which is based on dictatorship, which is based on the idea of theoretic system, because it is the minds of the Afghans are completely changed. They have a democratic society, democratic mindset, and they want. And now Amrullah Saleh and Hamad Masood, they basically their basic demands from the Taliban that make an inclusive and democratic government, because the Taliban don't want election in Afghanistan. They know they can't win election. 2 and 3 years ago, Asia Foundation arranged one survey in Afghanistan where they found a figure that 92% Afghans supported the Ashraf Ghani administration, and just 4% Afghans supported the Taliban government. Now the Taliban are they are interested to demolish the Afghan Senate, to demolish the Afghan National Assembly, and to take out the entire power from them. And they are saying that it is the responsibility of their president that the whole country's the policy making and decision making body they should exercise by their Amir.
Yeah.
So the Afghans are not ready for that kind of system. They demand from the Taliban that there should be a democratic institutions, there should be a elections after every 5 years. It is on the Afghans, whoever they select for themselves. On the other side, the Taliban know they don't have any roots in the Afghans. They don't have any support in the Afghans, so they want permanent designations.
Yeah, one way to retain power.
So that situation.
Hizbullah, I'm conscious of the time and also of your own pressures as well. Maybe we can bring this one to a close. What do you think is the most dangerous case scenario? And then what do you think is the best case scenario? And then what do you think is the most likely case scenario going forward?
I think there is no possibility of the good scenario, because the Taliban, after they are so confident now, after capturing the entire Afghanistan within 1 week, and now they are saying that they defeated the British Empire, they defeated USSR, they defeated US within 1 century, and these kind of resistance is nothing for them. Like the resistance of Ahmad Massoud. So they are proud. They even don't think about this resistance. So if they don't think about this resistance, it is the ultimate options, and the ultimate scenario is a civil war and a huge resistance against the Taliban in the entire Afghanistan. They are in there are two scenarios. In one scenario, the Taliban believe and they understand they don't have any support in Afghanistan. They want permanent key post designations, and they want a ulama council which exercise the power of entire Afghanistan, and which is the only policy and decision making body of Afghanistan. On the other side, the ones believe that they just want the Senate, they just want elections, they want that National Assembly and Senate should make policies and decisions for Afghans. And on the other side, the Taliban believe that they can't win election. On the other side, the Afghans are not ready to accept the Taliban's these intentions. So there will be no any good scenario, because the Taliban is not ready for the demands of Afghans. On the other side, Afghans are not ready for the intentions, for the manipulations of the Taliban's power, and the negotiations which is underway in Kabul. We are saying that like the past 3 years negotiation we saw just fail. In this negotiation also we are saying that this will be failed. And in that case, there will be just civil war and great resistance against the Taliban.
Hard words, but I can certainly understand where you're coming from. Hizbullah, thank you very much again for your time, and I'm sure we'll speak again because I think getting your insights and your analysis is very useful. Thank you very much for your time once again, and we'll speak soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Voices of War. You can access all episodes on www.thevoicesofwar.com or by subscribing wherever you get your favourite podcasts. And while you're there, please give us a review, as we'd love to hear what you think. If you'd like to recommend a guest for the show, you can reach me on info@thevoicesofwar.com.